Lauren Doherty, and this is my presentation, A Long Day's Journey into Freud. I'm going to be discussing A Long Day's Journey into Night, a play by Eugene O'Neill, and then hopefully relating it to some of Sigmund Freud's theories. Sigmund Freud was born in Austria. He wasn't born to wealthy families, but they ensured his education. He was educated at the University of Vienna, where he became a doctor. Freud went on to develop many theories. A lot of his theories involved the conscious and unconscious minds, dreams, a lot of things about repression and depression in humans, but his more well-known one would be psychoanalysis. A lot of his influence can be seen today in a lot of psychology. So Eugene O'Neill is an Irish-American playwright. He was sent to Catholic boarding school and then later attended Princeton University. He only attended this university for a year before he dropped out. He started writing plays in his mid-20s. His first published play was called Beyond the Horizon, which opened on Broadway in 1920. It received great acclaim and later on was awarded the Pulitzer Prize for Drama. After leaving college, Eugene O'Neill spent time in the sea. In the time following, he suffered depression and alcoholism. When he returned from sea, he had to spend time in a sanatorium because of tuberculosis. A lot of issues and subjects from this time in his life can be seen in his work. There's a lot of themes such as sea, myth, isolation, as well as physical health. So there's a lot of similarities in his life, and to that the themes in A Long Day's Journey into Night. One of these similarities is Jamie, the older brother in the Tyrone family of the play. Eugene O'Neill had an older brother called Jamie. He died of an alcohol-related illness when he was just 45. Another similarity would be the name Eugene. Eugene O'Neill, the author, named a child that died at a young age Eugene. I wonder if he's saying something about his innocence being lost as a child. So moving on. This is the family. Mary Tyrone is the mother. James Tyrone is the father, also known as James Sr. Then we have Jamie Tyrone, or also known as James Jr., and then the youngest, Edmund Tyrone. So Mary Tyrone, and Freud. So Mary Tyrone is the mother of the house. Throughout the play, she talks about her fond memories of her father. She seems a bit detached from reality. James Tyrone disagrees with this great idea she has of her father. For me, this is kind of relatable to Freud's screen memories. He spoke about screen memories versus childhood memories. Freud questioned the accuracy of childhood memories and thought that as we grow up, that people kind of change or alter the memories they have as they grow up to make them fonder, a bit nicer. And Mary is also a morphine addict. She's addicted to morphine, which kind of fuels the rhythm of the plot. All the men in her family care about her health, but in some ways she accuses or blames them for her addiction and for her mental health. By putting blame on others, she doesn't have to admit her feelings, and this all stems from a lack of self-belief. So in a way, it's kind of shutting down pain. So here we have James Freud, or James Sr. He's the father. He's an alcoholic, although it's never actually admitted, but throughout the play he likes to drink. He also encourages his sons to drink. In a way, it's a form of escapism and a way for truthful communication among the family. There's a lot of babble and a lot of kind of rambling of nothing, but among those, there's certain things that you can pick up that actually have a depth of a meaning on how someone is truly feeling. His wife calls him greedy, and so do his children. Mary blames him for not actually buying a home. Although he's a wealthy man in assets such as property, when he was a child his father left his mother and 6 children in poverty. His abandonment issues means that he kind of refuses to buy anything of sentimental value. There's a block for him in order to not end up in squalor. He's feared about ending up in the nothingness. His self-regret and guilt is seen more towards the end when he's completely drunk. He has a self-hatred that stems from criticizing himself. This criticism is also transferred to his 2 sons. James seems sees his own potential that he completely washed away. He sees that in his son, and he sees his son doing the exact same thing. And in a way, it's like he doesn't want him to regret his potential or not fulfilling it, but at the same time, he's not letting him by being completely condescending the whole time. So, moving on, this is Jamie, or James Jr. So, Jamie was accused of Eugene's death. He received constant blame from both parents. Freud would see this negativity coming down from a parental figure transferred into his adult personality. A lot of his cynicism and negativity is probably due to this fact. Freud said in infantile development, the son begins to relate to their father. They wanted to be like him. James Sr. did not appreciate the sentiment, but Jamie wanted to be an actor just like his father. He was mimicking him. Jamie also uses alcohol as an escape from reality, and he links this in with sex. The use of a prostitute indicates the need for love to be fulfilled through sex, a sentimental love he wasn't receiving at home. This also is clear in his jealousy of Edmund. Freud sees it as unhealthy. It links to the Oedipus complex by wanting love of a dominance in a family dynamic. Although it's not parental rivalry, it's more sibling rivalry. But in the end, Jamie admits his jealousy, but he also admits that Edmund is all that he has, so the love is there. Edmund is quite an introverted person. He believes in a lot of theorists and philosophers such as Nietzsche, Wilde and Marx. This goes completely against his father's Catholic beliefs. Freud said that going against Catholicism or Christianity by rejecting God, you're also rejecting the father or mother authority that you have in your life. That's interesting. It's as if everyone blames Edmund for nothing, for none of his doing. He's unprovoked blame. His mother blames him for the childbirth, for the pain of childbirth. Jamie blames him for being the favourite. The father blames him for being sick and putting stress on his mother. Everyone is constantly nagging on him, and I feel quite sad for him. The unprovoked blame from everyone and accusations, it's added to his personality, his interests. So it's kind of interesting in a way to look at it in comparison to Jamie. His illness, so he gets tuberculosis, similar to that Eugene O'Neill had when he was in his mid-20s. It puts a tension in the house. It's constantly waiting to find out if he's actually sick or if it's what they call a summer cold, trying to brush it off, just like they brush off their addictions. So his sickness kind of builds to the climax. The idea that all events building up to the climax, they allow for an excess of alcohol to be consumed and morphine to be shot up. It leads to the end scene where each individual is in a completely intoxicated state. The constant arguments and discussions throughout the play act as a form of therapy. Don't get me wrong, it's not cured, but in a way the family come to some realization, and each individual comes to self-realization about how their blame is affecting others and how they themselves are somewhat to blame. So it gets a bit confusing there. But if you look at Freud's psychoanalysis theory kind of led to the talking cure or therapists, so people that you talk it out with by self-realization, it clicks, something clicks. I'm not saying that this is a cure, but the talking cure may have helped. All the discussions and arguments and blames have allowed the family to kind of realize something in the end. So Mary regresses to her innocence. While she's blaming everyone, she's lost. She's looking for her purity. In the end, she comes down in a white dress. So perhaps the loss of her innocence is where it all went wrong for her, and she started getting this melancholy and this depression. Then Jamie Sr. confesses to his jealousy. Jamie Sr. admits to having tight pockets. The whole time he says he doesn't, and that he's holding on because he doesn't want to end up in the poorhouse. Then Jamie Jr. admits to having this jealousy, and it makes him feel better as if he's gone to confession. And then Edmund confronts his dad and Jamie, which he hasn't done in the whole play. Throughout the play, he's the peacemaker, like, oh mama, why are you saying this? Oh papa. And then by him confronting, he tries to throw a punch at Jamie. This is amazing. Well, not throw a punch, but similar metaphorical reasoning. They completely alter. I know that it took an immense amount of alcohol and drugs and arguments to get there, but in the end, it just shows the pure deterioration of a family. This family could have been great, but past experiences and memories and that sort of thing have allowed these bad traits to overpower the good traits, and get back. Thank you for listening, and have a good day.